الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. As we start this new chapter within the book Al-Hayat wal-Wasa'il al-Mufida lil-Hayat al-Sa'ida, with the great Imām Sheikh Abdur-Rahman al-Sa'di, or you can say al-Sa'di, rahimahullah, rahmatan wasi'ah. فنسأل الله أن يتغمده بواسع رحمته ومغفرته. As we continue in this blessed book, in order for Attain, as we know in this dunya, we are travelers. We're supposed to be travelers transitioning to another life in preparation for that reality. So we are traveling in a manner in which there are rocky roads and sometimes there's smooth ones. Those matters and how to deal with them, the affair revolves around. It revolves around how to deal with them in a proper way. And when we say proper way, in a manner that's pleasing to Allah first, not pleasing to ourselves or our personal gratification or our personal satisfaction or for revenge or to take retribution from the one who oppressed, but always looking at the affair of whether or not it's pleasing to Allah himself, even if it might be something that's against yourself. So you'll find that the great Imām As-Sa'di, rahimahullah, that he says in regards to this great matter that he brought to light for us, because it's as if what the great Imam was mentioning applies or is applicable to these current state of affairs in which we see. So you'll find that he says another thing is mentioning Allah's blessings, if I'm not mistaken, everyone. Another affair is what? Mentioning Allah's blessings, the apparent and the hidden. Acknowledging them and mentioning them is a reason for Allah to remove anxiety and distress from the servant. And it causes him to be thankful, which is the highest and loftiest station. Even if the servant is in a state of poverty, sickness, or any other type of calamity. This is when the servant compares the blessings of Allah upon him, meaning comparing it to others who do not have it, which cannot be counted or calculated with the afflictions that befall him, then the afflictions are negligible in comparison. So he says, in reality, when the servant is tested with trials and tribulations, and he observes the necessary patience, contentment, and submission, then their burden is lightened, and their difficulty is alleviated. Furthermore, the servants hope to earn the anticipated reward and recompense for these trials, and his servitude to Allah through patience and contentment transforms bitterness into sweetness. But the sweetness of the reward causes him to forget about the bitterness of patience with the trial. We'll talk about all this. Let's explain it in detail. So let's start from the beginning. It says another thing in mentioning another thing that will allow one to attain a happy life. The happy life, as we know, is not mere satisfaction of the physical state or the outward state or the external state. The blessing, like we know, or the affair revolves around asas, what is considered the fundamentals, or if you want to say the foundation of blessings. What is the foundation or fundamental blessings? Notice the great Imām As-Sa'di that he said, blessings that are apparent and are hidden. So let's put in perspective, what is the greatest blessing of Allah? What is it? Those are the things we need to acknowledge first and put everything in its proper perspective. Because a lot of people have the misconception that blessings revolves around pleasure and ease as far as in worldly matters or mundane matters. Is that the truth? No, it isn't. So let's start with the hidden blessings that we wanted to what? Acknowledge. So let's put in perspective number one. The greatest of all ni'am of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everyone, the greatest of all of them is, the greatest of them, it's kind of rhetorical. The greatest of all ni'am of Allah ta'ala is the following. Number one is Iman. Number one is Iman. As we know, that Iman, Allah only gives to certain people. No matter of their financial status, Allah only gives it to certain individuals. Certain people believe while others disbelieve. Iman is from the greatest, rather the greatest, after, or the others we're going to mention along with that, of course, the greatest of ni'am that Allah could bestow upon the individual, Iman. What that entails is knowing His Creator, knowing His purpose of creation, knowing what direction He's supposed to take in life. Those are the greatest of ni'am of Allah. It's greater than any money, any status, no matter what it is. To know your purpose in life and your Creator in the proper way. Proper aqeedah, proper conviction. All those affairs are the greatest of blessings. That's what one needs to acknowledge. If he was to compare that to the people who are not upon that, from the disbelievers, you see that they are walking around deprived of this great blessing. They don't know why they were created. Some of them disbelieve in the existence of Allah, even though they don't. They do believe in Allah, but they try to deny it. Some of them don't know their direction. They don't know what direction to take in life. They don't know what's their purpose. Or the knowledge they possess of Allah is distorted, is twisted, is tainted. So when you look in hindsight to those matters, what do you find? Now when you look at the one who's deprived of this great ni'mah and you see yourself, what do you see yourself in? Doesn't that remove yourself from having some type of anxiety and sadness? Once you look at it from that perspective, you do. You realize what you have. But a person does not realize what they have until it's what? Usually removed or tested in. So that is the greatest ni'am of Allah, is Iman, of course, and what the brothers mentioned, Tawheed, Sunnah, all of that we're going to mention in a minute. Because that's what it all entails. So you'll find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He gives an abd this favor that He only specifies and gives to certain individuals, you will realize that even if I do not possess worldly status or worldly pleasures, I still possess the greatest ni'am of Allah. Being that the case, you want to what? You want to set out diligently to protect it. Because you know that's the most precious thing that you have. There's nothing else greater than that blessing. So you want to do everything you can to protect of what you would protect more than if you possess a fine, refined, cut diamond that's worth $10 million. How would you treat it? You will hide it. You will put it somewhere safe. You would do everything to protect it. Iman cannot even be compared to that diamond. You want to do everything to protect it. Make sure it's intact. Make sure it's not distorted. Make sure it's not being treated in a manner where it might be subjected to being changed. For all those matters, like we said, one has to realize. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He wants good for His servant, He bestows upon him this great ni'mah of Allah, which is Iman. Then Allah ta'ala, if He wants good and you protect that affair, He will take you to another level. What's another level? He will inspire you to take it to another level where you will want to now attain knowledge of that matter. He will inspire you to be enthusiastic. Have that enthusiasm to work diligent to learn it. And be upon that affair with insight. How many people are granted Iman, but Allah does not inspire them to seek knowledge? And they might find pleasure in their ignorance. And they take pride in ignorance. So that's number two. Allah will raise you up another level. Now you're seeking what? Knowledge, and be enthusiastic about learning. And all of this, I'm going to bring the proof, so don't worry. Just breaking it down, then I'm going to bring it back to where it's supposed to. And then I'm going to substantiate with everything that I say with evidences and proofs from Kitab and Sunnah, so don't worry. طيب. After you protect that ni'mah of Allah from your Iman, then Allah raises you. He inspires within you to seek knowledge. So that's another ni'mah of Allah, that He's building one on top of another. And it's the greatest of all ni'am. So keep in mind what I'm speaking about right now, everyone, is the greatest of all blessings. It's not the fact that we wear nice clothes and some of us are nice in our appearances. We have to put this in perspective, and that's what we're talking about. And that's what we have to elaborate on first. This takes precedence over everything. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for you, and He wants to take you up another level now. So you started from Iman. You started from seeking proper knowledge. Another ni'am of Allah when seeking proper knowledge, from the greatest of ni'am, is that Allah give you success to take knowledge from its people, meaning its proper people, and the proper sources. That's another ni'am of Allah that only Allah gives to certain individuals. How many Muslims out there do we see that they become Muslim, but Allah does not give them the blessing of taking knowledge from the proper people? How many? Millions. Am I right or wrong, everyone? This is not rhetorical. This is for you to answer. This is right or wrong? Millions are misled. Not taking knowledge from the proper sources, nor the what? Proper people. As we know, the Athar, which comes in Libana by the great Imām Ibn Battah al-Ukbari, where he said in that tremendous book, what is the greatest books of Aqidah, Al-Aqidah in regards to the Salaf, that he said, وَمَنْ سَعَادَةَ الْحَدَثِ وَالنِّعَمْ عَلَى الْعَبْدِ أَن يُوَفِّقَهُ إِلَى رَجُلٍ مِنْ أَهْلِ السُّنَّةِ يَحْمِلُهُ عَلَيْهِ. He said, from the greatest ni'am of Allah, and from the one who's new, he's just been brought in, and from the affairs that will make him successful, is that Allah grant him tawfiq to an alim or an individual that possesses knowledge from the people of the Sunnah, and that he what? Carries him upon that. So those matters, like we said, everyone, is part of what? From the ni'am of Allah Ta'ala, meaning from the greatest of them. So Allah Ta'ala will take you from one level to another level. And then now will be the third, like we mentioned, it said, the next level, everyone's paying attention who's coming in, who's going out. It's not important, brothers and sisters. Focus. For in regards to what we was mentioning, we saying that the third, brothers and sisters, after Iman and taking knowledge and having the inspiration, that inspiration within yourself is not from yourself merely, it's from Allah. From Allah Ta'ala, inshallah, as an exchange for what? You trying to set out to do what's right. And when you embark upon a path that's correct, Allah gives you tawfiq to excel in it. That's the affair we have to keep in mind from the time we became Muslim, some of us, to the time where some of us were on the street, and then Allah made something happen in our life to take a different direction. Where we now embark upon was correct, then those matters, brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had now bestowed upon you the ni'mah of inspiration to want to learn and educate yourself. Those are also matters we have to protect. Because if we subject it to what's angering Allah, Allah can remove that desire from your heart. And you can embark upon desiring something else. Because being educated within a religion is also from the greatest ni'am of Allah. There's nothing like a learned individual in the religion that has ilm in which Allah decorates him by. It's nothing like it. We see it from the scholars, how Allah decorates them with the knowledge, how much of a blessing it is. For those affairs, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, the third affair, after Allah has inspired you, He's also given you another ni'mah to take knowledge from the proper people. And then He's now allowed you and pointed you in the direction with the proper sources. Here comes another level. Another level Allah raises you. How is it, everyone? The righteous actions. He allows you to receive the affair of what? Applying what you know. Application. That's another ni'mah that Allah raises you, raises you, raises you. These are from the unseen or unapparent blessings. The affairs of the heart and the inspiration of what Allah puts in it of nourishment, nutrients. From those ni'am al-batina. That's what we're going to talk about, inshallah. So Allah raises you. He raises you to the point where now you're working in accordance with that iman, and you're working in accordance with that light, which is of knowledge. You're working in accordance with it. Now you're upon basira. Now you're upon insight. Allah has given you tawfiq to be raised to this next degree. So you have iman, you have knowledge, and you're working in accordance with it. And Allah, ta'ala, if He wants good for you, all those affairs that makes Him angry, you will also be what? Angry with it. And you would detest anything that taints that light that Allah has given you. You would detest it and hate it. And the people that's doing it. You would detest it and hate it because you what? Because you know it angers Allah and is displeasing to Allah. And we have to love what Allah loves and we hate what Allah hates. That's what raises people, and that's what will raise you and raise us together. Allah to take you up another level. Another level, another level. Is there another level after that? There's another one. So now, Allah ta'ala has instilled in you to love iman, to love knowledge, to love what is good, to love what's pleasing to Him, to love righteous actions, to hate disobedience and the outright displayment of it with no shyness. You hate it because Allah hates it. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Hujurat. Isn't that right, everyone? وَلَكِنْ حَبَّبَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْإِيمَانِ وَإِيش وَزَيَّنَهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ وَكَرَّهَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكُفْرَ وَالْفُسُوقَ وَالْعِصْيَانَ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الرَّاشِدُونَ فَضْلًا مِنَ اللَّهِ وَالنِّعْمَةِ. You know the ayat, right, everyone? Or you recite it. You have it memorized. Are we applying it? That's the question. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Surah Al-Hujurat. What does He say? However, Allah has made beloved to you what? Iman. And what He what? And He decorate, وَزَيَّنَهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. He decorated within your heart. And He made it detestful within you what? Kufr, wal-fusuq, wal-isyan. Ulaika. They are the ones who are truly guided. Bounty from Allah and what? Ni'mah. Blessing. Bounty and blessing from Allah. That's to let you know that the internal affairs of the ni'mah of Allah within the heart is only from Him subhanahu jalla sha'nu. These are the ni'mah of Allah we have to protect, to make sure it does not go away. These are the most important and vital of all matters, no matter what ni'mah you have that's from the external aspect of it. These are the internal or what you don't see, which are the most vital, the most important, and the one that we have to set out to protect. Pay attention, everyone steps to the door, walking in and out. Is it clear, everyone? These are the matters that Sheikh Abdur-Rahman Sa'di is talking about. He said, when you look at it this perspective, and you look at the true the affairs in which Allah has given you, you don't even realize what Allah has bestowed upon you until someone tells you and makes you realize it. Like, you know what? My life isn't that bad. Compared to what I see of certain individuals that possess the most greatest and so-called valuable things of this dunya in comparison to what Allah has removed from them, which is the essential affair of happiness, I'm in the greatest of all ni'am. But sometimes we don't realize it until someone mentions it. It makes us realize it. Then you say, you know what, my life isn't so bad. Even though I'm being tested externally in certain affairs of my dunya. But the greatest of all affairs, Allah did not test me in my religion. Allah didn't test me in my religion. I can jump up and down. Alhamdulillah. I'm not being tested in my religion. I'm not being tested in my aqidah. I'm not being tested in my methodology. And I'm not being tested in my uprightness with Allah. If you have that, you have everything in the dunya. You have the greatest of all blessings. Am I saying anything wrong? Let me know. Is it clear, everyone? You'll find that Allah Ta'ala, these are from the affairs, like we mentioned, it said, al-ni'am al-batina, from the hidden blessings of Allah that you don't see. You'll find that we mentioned, everyone, I thought I turned this off, and it still was, I thought I disabled it, it's still coming through, right? So you'll find that it says, when he says acknowledging them, mentioning them is a reason for Allah. What do you say? What does it say in the book? Removing what? Remove Allah, to remove anxiety and distress from the servant. A person was asking, or now it comes to the mind, what's the higher level than that we just mentioned? We just mentioned some great affairs. What can be higher than that? What could be higher than that? If Allah gives you tawfiq, He'll raise you a higher degree. He'll keep you firm upon that affair till you die. He will keep your feet planted firm. When the winds of fitna come to blow and they become violent, similar to yesterday. How the winds, when they become violent and cold and bitter, and sometimes you don't have people around you anymore, but you know within yourself you're doing what is pleasing to Allah, you stay firm upon that affair until Allah makes it clear to everyone. And if Allah keeps you firm upon istiqamah till you die, He has given you greatest ni'mah that He could give to any human being. Because Ibn al-Qayyim talks about the saving of one of the punishment in the grave. He said very few that will what? Be saved from it. From his punishment. Of certain people, of course we know, which will be upon the people of Kufr forever, and could possibly be upon the people of the Qibla from Islam. Even though their punishment is temporary and then it will stop. But the point of the matter is they're still being punished. Wal-'iyadhu billah. That affair, like we said, everyone going up and up and up. Allah Ta'ala will allow you to stay firm upon what is pleasing to Him all the way until the point where He takes your soul. Those are the matters, like we said, we have to protect with our molded teeth and work diligently to protect those blessings so Allah doesn't snatch it. Because wallahi, I see these days, these ni'am are being taken away from a lot of people because they weren't thankful and being grateful. Something else is being implemented. And people who Allah has given taqwa can see what's going on. It's not hidden from anybody who has some type of ikhlas and sidq with Allah Ta'ala. For your affairs, brothers and sisters, this is what we have to focus on, rectify, protect, put forth our utmost effort in making sure that these affairs are always intact. And then we see when we're being tested in the most greatest of all trials and tribulations, which is in our religion, we immediately have to seek out a ilaj, a treatment to take or remedy to remove that sickness immediately. Just as if you was to fall on the floor, if you was to walk out this door, the masjid, you slipped on the ground or you passed out, immediately everybody would get some medical attention. Those are the affairs of the dunya and your physical. What about the affairs of your religion? Do you do the same? Do you react the same way? Do you do, as Ibn al-Qayyim says, when you lay in the bed and you really bring to account, what did I do today that made me draw closer to Allah and my preparation of meeting Him in the hereafter? What did I do? How did I take advantage of my day and actualizing that preparation for that affair that's coming? Every day, sitting in your bed thinking, what did I do today? فيا معاشر الإخوة, like we mentioned, it said, often we think happiness and being fortunate, we think of great finances, healthy children, no doubt. Those are from the next type of ni'am that we're going to speak about, which is what they call a ni'am al-zahira, the apparent blessings that Allah has given us. Those apparent blessings, I think that's self-explanatory for everyone to realize. But however, what we wanted to put in perspective is this matter. We think of great finances, healthy children and family, stability, shelter, all of the comforts of life. No doubt, those are ni'am. Those are blessings that we have to be grateful for because they could be taken away. However, as a Muslim, we have to contemplate, like we said, on true happiness. And like we said, we want to sum up the affair by saying true happiness is stability in your religion. Stability. So, who's less fortunate? The less fortunate would be those who don't practice Islam. Those are considered less fortunate. Those are the people who are considered deprived. Those who do not practice Islam, the less fortunate are those who love this world more than what Allah has promised of paradise. And we're going to talk about some of the descriptions of when the message of Allah said, Tuba lil ghuraba. A lot of people don't realize what that means and what that entails and what it necessitates. Tuba. Some of them say, okay, glad tidings, some of the meanings. And Tuba, a tree in paradise. Do you really realize what a tree in paradise is? The narrations that comes in the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Surah Al-Ra'd, we talked about the affair of Tuba. Tuba lahum wa husna ma'ab. Glad tidings of them. And we know it has other meanings such as relaxation, Attain, coolness of the eye, to the end of it. Relaxation forever. But there's another narration that says a tree in paradise, which is the distance of 100 years. Masirata mi'a am. That's a tree in paradise. The distance of 100 years, in which the garments of the people of paradise emanates from. That is the affair of a tree. When you think about Tuba lil ghuraba, Tuba for the strangers, meaning the strangers that are upon was correct, even though the majority of the people are going astray and being corrupt. That's the reason why the message of Allah specifically said Tuba. For that tree, like we said, which is the distance, if you go back to the tafsir, will be al-Baghawi al-Imām bi-Kathir, Imad al-Din al-Dimashqi, rahimahullah, that the affair of what's the description of that tree is the distance of 100 years for one tree in paradise. Masira mi'a am, al-Rakibu yasiru fiha masirata mi'a am, as it says in the narration. طيب. So, the matter, like we said, that is the descriptions when the message of Allah said, Tuba for the ghuraba. الَّذِينَ يُصْلِحُونَ إِذَا فَسَدَ النَّاسِ. Those who stay firm upon what's correct when the people become corrupt. When the people start going left, they stay firm upon what's correct. When the people also go right, they still stay firm upon what's correct. When they either want one extreme or two extremes, where they bounce back and forth, they're still in a moderate what? Affair, in which Allah has commanded them to be upon. And Allah Ta'ala gives them a reward of Tuba, of that tree in paradise, like we said, that the distance is of 100 years, which is a great affair. That's to let you one know the descriptions of paradise of how great it is, and that's the reality we need to be preparing for. Not just the mere enjoyment of what we receive in this world of delight, of the fancy cars, and all the other things that we adore so much to the point that we'd be ready to fall out if we just lose something of just mere shoes from amongst ourselves. But preparation for that next life, which makes one aspire towards it, to actualize those matters and not giving this dunya any type of value by taking it and putting it under your feet and realizing how lowly and pathetic it is. And in these days and times, the dark times that we live in, of these days that Allah Ta'ala is testing us with, shows us the reality of this world and how pathetic and lowly what Allah is. You see it, everyone, clearly, how lowly this world is. And we know the narration, لو ساوى عند الله جناح بعوضة ما سقى منها كافرا شربة ماء. As we know the narration, right everyone? If it equal with Allah, that the wing of a mosquito, جناح بعوضة ما سقى منها كافرا شربة ماء. Allah wouldn't give a drink to a disbeliever a sip of water. That's to let you know how lowly and pathetic this dunya is in comparison to what's coming. So that's the thing that we need to be setting out to actualize and prepare for. And those matters, like we said, will make us focus. Wa alaykum as-salam. Is it clear, everyone? Right. So based upon the ayat, now we want to talk about what? The ni'mah of Allah, al-zahira wal-batina, as we wanted to discuss, where's the evidences? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Luqman, ayat number 20. أَلَمْ تَرَوْا أَنَّ اللَّهَ سَخَّرَ لَكُمْ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَأَسْبَغَ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَهُ ظَاهِرَةً وَبَاطِنَةً. Now listen to the ayah. Look at the context. Look to the people who's been deprived of this. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يُجَادِلُ فِي اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَلَا هُدًى وَلَا كِتَابٍ مُنِيرٍ وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمُ اتَّبِعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ قالوا بل نتبع ما وجدنا عليه آباءنا أولو كان الشيطان يدعوهم إلى عذاب السعير. To the end of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about those blessings that He's bestowed that are hidden and open. Do you not see that Allah has subjected for you? And He has facilitated what is in the heavens and in the earth. And He has bestowed upon you abundantly those blessings that are open and hidden, apparent and unapparent. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about those who've been deprived of proper knowledge and their disbelief and how they are not upon what's correct. Now listen to this. And from the people who argue for Allah, as they so-called claim, without any knowledge, without any guidance, and without an enlightened book, or without a proper book. And if it's said to them, follow what Allah has revealed, they say, we follow what we found our forefathers upon. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is letting one know He's bestowed the greatest of ni'mah, which is properly guiding the heart, in contrast to those who's not upon that they are clueless to what is the proper affair they need to be upon. Rather, we follow what our forefathers were upon. Isn't that not the devil calling them to the blazing fire? For verily, the ayat about what the great Imām said concerning this particular ayah, because I wanted to bring the evidence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said about the zahira wa batina. So now what is the hidden or the open bounties and the hidden ones? قال عكرمة عن ابن عباس النعمة الظاهرة الإسلام والقرآن. The apparent ni'am, he said, Imām al-Baghawi, it is Islam and the Qur'an. There's a lot of tafasir in this regard, but we're going to mention some of them. The batina or the hidden ones, now listen to this one. ما ستر عليك من الذنوب. The hidden ones is what Allah has kept hidden, against you of sins. And He did not hasten to punish against you due to it. Now what about the people who openly display their sins after Allah has kept it hidden for you? And you brag about it. That is from those hidden ni'am that Allah has given us. ما سطر عليك من الذنوب ولم يعجل عليك بالنقمة. What Allah has kept hidden from you of sins, and He did not hasten against you a niqmah, that punishment, or those affairs that will come as a consequence. وقال الضحاك الظاهرة حسن الصورة وتسوية الأعضاء. From the open blessings that Allah has bestowed, he says, is a good appearance, of course, وتسوية الأعضاء, and the straightening of those limbs. Now listen to this. والباطنة المعرفة عن الله, proper knowledge proper knowledge of Allah, proper aqidah, proper methodology, proper affairs in which we work in accordance with, of those authentic narrations and other than them. Al-Ma'rifah. وقال مقاتل الظاهرة تصوية الخلق والخلق. The uprightness of one's appearance as far as how he was created, and his what? And his mannerism, his provisions, Islam. And he also says about the batina, what Allah has kept hidden of sins. وقال الربيع الظاهرة بالجوارح والباطنة بالقلب. Al-Rabi' says what is open of those blessings is with your limbs, meaning also your actions. What Allah has blessed and give you tawfiq to perfect it. And the batina is your heart, the rectification of it, the proper guidance of it, the proper belief, conviction, and all of what it entails. وقيل الظاهرة الإقرار باللسان والباطنة الاعتقاد بالقلب وكل هذه الأقوال متقاربة المعنى. He says you'll find that all these different explanations about this ayah, all of them are what? Similar. And all of them are correct. You'll find it is also mentioned in regards to those apparent blessings of Allah is al-iqrar bil-lisan, acknowledgement of it by the tongue. Wal-batina al-i'tiqad bil-qalb, and that the unapparent blessings is the conviction or the belief with the heart. وقيل الظاهرة تمام الرزق والباطنة حسن الخلق وقال عطاء الظاهرة تخفيف الشرائع والباطنة الشفاعة. It was said al-Zahira also means Allah has given or His bestowment of provisions. Wal-Batina is good character, good dealings with the people, good treatment of them, good interactions with them. وقال عطاء الظاهرة تخفيف الشرائع والباطنة الشفاعة. عطاء that he mentioned said الظاهرة, what is apparent blessings, is تخفيف الشرائع, the lightening of the legislations, and the batina is the intercession of Allah Ta'ala. Mujahid mentioned and said, because like we said, all of them are a lot as far as in its meanings, as far as what they mentioned, but they're all similar in meaning. Mujahid mentioned al-Zahiratu ظهور الإسلام والنصر على الأعداء والباطنة الإمداد بالملائكة وقيل الظاهرة الإمداد بالملائكة والباطنة إلقاء الرعب في قلوب الكفار. وقال سهل بن عبد الله التستري الظاهرة اتباع الرسول والباطنة محبته. He said you'll find that he says al-Zahira is that Islam will what? Become victorious and will prevail over the enemies. Al-Batina al-Imdadu bil-Malaika, and that the unapparent blessings that Allah will aid them with the angels. وَقِيلَ الظَّاهِرَةُ الْإِمْدَادُ بِالْمَلَائِكَةِ. Al-Zahira is to be aided by the angels. Now, all of these are correct. وَالْبَاطِنَةُ إِلْقَاءُ الرُّعْبِ فِي قُلُوبِ الْكُفَّارِ. And what is hidden is casting horror and fright in the hearts of the disbelievers. This is another affair that we also have to acknowledge, that we will never be able to attain the fear of the a'da, of our enemies, except by returning back to our religion. We know these narrations where the Messenger of Allah clearly mentioned and said, وَإِذَا تَبَايَعْتُمْ بِالْعَيْنَ وَأَخَذْتُمْ أَذْنَابَ الْبَقَرِ وَرَضِيتُمْ بِالزَّرْعِ وَتَرَكْتُمُ الْجِهَادِ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ سَلَّطَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ ذُلًّا لَا يَنْزِعُهُ عَنْكُمْ حَتَّى تَرْجِعُوا إِلَى دِينِكُمْ. You know these narrations, that if you start to indulge in haram transactions, and the type of transaction the Messenger of Allah was talking about, al-mu'amalat al-ribawiyya al-musamma bil-aina, the usury type of transaction which is called al-aina, which is a type of transaction, which is a sneaky, cunning way to attain benefits while you're falling into riba at the same time. All you have to do, go back to the affairs of fiqh. It's there. It's called Bay'ul La'ina. And that's what the message of Allah. But he was given an example, but he was saying if you start to indulge in these matters, generally, of all types of haram transactions, but he specified by using that one, but to let you know, stay away from all of it. If you now start to be inclined towards the dunya, where you start to fall in haram to attain dunya, now listen. وَأَخَذْتُمْ أَذْنَابَ الْبَقَرِ. And you start to now be pleased and set out for your animals. And in these days, of course, we animals now is what we're pleased with of cars and all the likes of it, right? He says, وَرَضِيتُ بِالزَّرْعِ. And you please at your agricultural affairs. Meaning that you love this dunya so much. You leave off fighting in the cause of Allah. And we know the greatest of fighting in the cause of Allah is to rectify yourself first. Because nothing around you of your life or the leaders will be rectified until you rectify yourself first. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ إيش سُبُلَنَا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Well, those who fight in our cause. And we know fighting in our cause starts with ourselves. In order to what? Attain the other types of jihad. Which is the jihad of fighting the people batil. But we have to rectify ourselves first. Rectify and clean out our closets. Clean out our closets. Rectify ourselves between us and Allah, openly and secretly. And we know also the narration what comes on Yahya Mu'adh. Now listen to this narration. I want this to penetrate all of us. من خان الله في السر هتك سره في العلانية. Whoever is mischievous and treacherous with Allah in secret, Allah will expose his secret to the public. هتك سره في العلانية. Allah will expose his secret publicly and openly. It's an indication that behind the closed scenes, you weren't being truthful up with your Lord until Allah is now making it known to everybody. These are the affairs we have to wake up from. For our affairs of what was pertaining to the kuffar, if we really want the kuffar to respect us again, this is what we have to rectify and restore. Allah, the Prophet ﷺ said, you lift off jihad, starting with yourselves first, and rectification of that. وَتَرَكْتُمُ الْجِهَادِ. Then not only for yourself, fighting the people of batil, we're refuting all types of falsehood, of all types of deviation and i'tiqad, from the greatest of them, of what's pertaining to all types of deviation with Allah ta'ala. And you abandon those type of jihad. And we're talking about that's the greatest form of jihad. The greatest form of jihad, like we said, is refutation and establishing aqidah to Salafiyah. And make sure it's pure and it's not been tainted. And making sure that the people of falsehood are subdued. Which is the greatest form of jihad, greater than the sword. These affairs, if you leave them off, what did the Messenger of Allah say? Sallallahu alaykum dhullan. Allah will put against you what? Humiliation, disgrace. And he'll make it switch. The kuffar used to be terrorized of you. Now they're not even afraid of you anymore. That's terrible idea. Tashkhar. You leave off these affairs, Allah will put in power against you what? Humiliation. He will not remove it, everyone, until you return back to your religion. So the matter revolves around what, everyone? The religion being restored within ourselves. And Allah Ta'ala will switch it where the enemies amongst us, they will have respect for us again. And where they will be horror and in a state of fright. Because they know that the affair of Islam belongs to Allah and with His Messenger and the Muslimun. But the Muslims have to what? Realize it within themselves, to wake up from the heedlessness that they've become in and rectify the affairs within themselves. So this type of honor could be restored. And that's a message for all of us. If we truly want Allah Ta'ala's religion to be victorious, and it will prevail and be superior and dominant over all of the religions, as Allah is mentioning. But with ourselves, will we be the reasons That Allah will make us the reason for actualizing that affair, or will He replace us with someone else who will do it and will now love His religion and propagate it properly until Allah will make them the reasons for now allowing His religion to be superior. All of us are expendable. All of us could be replaced, no matter who it is. Individuals are guided today and they are misguided tomorrow. And we ask Allah to keep us firm upon what's correct. But we know the narrations where Abdullah ibn Mas'ud that he mentioned, it said, فَإِنْ الْحَيْلَاتُ مِنْ عَلَيْهِ الْفِتْنَةِ. The living is not secure from being put to trial and test. And we just mentioned, it said the greatest of all trial and tests is what, everyone? Your religion. So you'll find Sahl ibn Abdullah Tustari that he said about this ayah. He said, al-Dhahira, from the apparent ni'am of Allah, listen to what he says. Ittiba' al-Rasul, following the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wal-Batina, mahabbatuhu. And the inward ni'am of Allah is loving the messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. All these are the ni'am of Allah with the Allahs, as we mentioned, it said, brothers and sisters, that we want to what? We want to protect. We don't want Allah to take it away. We want Allah to increase us and increase us and increase us more and more until He takes us up in degrees. The great Imām, of course we know, in every lecture we have to mention from the kalam of the great Al-Allama Ibn Al-Qayyim rahimahullah, because we know that his kalam penetrates. It is very beneficial, rahimahullah. It made his kalam mubarak. Mubarak. Where he said, Anwa'u ni'amillah ta'ala ala abdih. He says, An-ni'am thalath. He said, blessings is 3. He says, Ni'matun hasilatun ya'lamu biha al-abd. Wa ni'matun muntadara. فإذا أراد الله إتمام نعمته على عبده عرفه نعمته الحاضرة فإنها تشرد بالمعصية وتقيد بالشكر ووفقه لعمل الحمد لله. Let me go back again. فإذا أراد الله إتمام نعمته على عبده عرفه نعمته الحاضرة وأعطاه من شكره قيدا يقيدها به حتى لا تشرد. He said that blessings are 3. A ni'mah that's taking place right now, in which the servant realizes. وَنِعْمَةٌ مُنْتَظَرَةٌ. He says an anticipated blessing. An anticipated blessing. وَنِعْمَةٌ هُوَ فِيهَا وَلَا يَشْعُرُ بِهَا. And a ni'mah that he's in, but he doesn't realize it. فَإِذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ إِتْمَامَ نِعْمَتِهِ عَلَى عَبْدِهِ عَرَّفَهُ نِعْمَتَهُ الْحَاضِرَةِ وَأَعْطَاهُ مِنْ شُكْرِهِ قَيْدًا يُقَيِّدُهَا بِهِ حَتَّى لَا تَشْرَدْ. He said, for verily, if Allah wants to complete His favor upon His servant, He will what? Make him realize the ni'mah that's now. Al-Hadira. It's present, now. And if He wants what? Good for him to complete it, He will also give him success to fulfill the affairs of being thankful and grateful. As a what? As a form to protect his ni'mah from going away from him. Qaid, a restriction. Some type of way, as we know, the word quyud means handcuffs. Also in the Arabic language. Quyud means handcuffs. What do handcuffs do? Restrict and keep something from what? Going away. So Allah Ta'ala, from His what? Ni'am, from the shukr that He will give tawfiq to His servant, He will allow him to what? Come with that gratitude, that thanks, as a restriction or a qaid in which He will restrict that ni'mah from going away from him. Now listen to what he goes on to say. فَإِنَّهَا تَشْرَدْ بِالْمَعْصِيَةِ. Blessings will be removed due to disobedience of Allah. Your sins will allow your blessings to go away. Bye-bye. He says, وَتُقَيَّدُ بِالشُّكْرِ. and it will be protected and maintained and solidified by gratitude, thanks. وَوَفَّقَهُ لِعَمَلٍ كَيْ يَسْتَجْلِبَ بِهِ النِّعْمَةَ الْمُنْتَظَرَةَ, until Allah will give him tawfiq to keep going, furthering that affair until he what? Excel. To an act in which Allah will allow him to attain an anticipated blessing that's coming. وَبَصَّرَهُ بِالطُّرُقِ الَّتِي تَسُدُّهَا وَتَقْطَعُ طَرِيقَهَا, to the end of it. Then he will allow him to have insight in the different methods in which he'll also be able to what? Attain it. Cutting the roads. However, certain ways Allah might what? Keep him away from it. وَوَفَّقَهُ لِاجْتِنَابِهَا. Then you'll find that what? That affair might be what? At first hard. He didn't attain it. Keeping him away from it until it's the proper time for you to have it. Right now, you might not be ready for it yet. He says, until وَإِذَا بِهَا قَدْ وَافَتْ إِلَيْهِ عَلَى أَتَمِّ الْوُجُوهِ وَعَرَّفَهُ النِّعَمْ الَّتِي هُوَ فِيهَا وَلَا يَشْعُرُ بِهَا. He says, hence you'll find it right there. It will be right there. Come to him in the most complete fashion, making him aware of them blessings in which he is in, and in certain affairs, like we said, making him realize it, even though at a certain time he was heedless of it. Not realizing it was right in front of your face. It was there all the time. There was a narration you'll find that he says, وَيُحْكَى أَنَّ أَعْرَابِيًّا دَخَلَ عَلَى الرَّشِيدِ فَقَالَ يَا أَمِيرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. He said, ثَبَّتَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكَ النِّعَمْ التي أنت فيها بإدامة شكرها وحقق لك النعم التي ترجوها بحسن الظن به وداوم طاعته وعرفك النعم التي أنت فيها ولا تعرفها ولا تعرفها لتشكرها ولا تعرفها لتشكرها فأعجبه ذلك منه وقال ما أحسن تقسيمه. طيب, you ready? Everyone stop. We'll stop here, inshallah. He's ready for the telling. Stop here. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله